There's Song, a beautiful, haunting song from the early 1960s. When you hear it, you feel something real. It's not a big rock and roll number, it's quiet. It's full of memory and a little bit of pain. The voice that sings it is one of the most famous voices in history, and when you look at the writing credit, his name is right there. But it's not alone. There are two other names next to his. One was his close friend and bodyguard. The other was just a guy in his entourage, and that's where the story gets strange. Because for years, a question has lingered. A quiet question, just like the song itself. Did Elvis Presley actually write this song? The whole thing, or the most important part? And if he did, why would he share the credit? Or even more, why was he maybe forced to? Let's get the official story out of the way first. The song is credited to Elvis Presley and Red West. The Red was Elvis's high school friend. He was one of the first guys Elvis hired for his security, a core member of the Memphis Mafia. He was tough, loyal, and he was also a pretty good songwriter. He wrote or co-wrote several songs that Elvis recorded. So his name on the credit makes sense. But then there's the third name, Alan Fortas. He was another member of the entourage. A friend, sure, but a songwriter? No one ever described him that way. He wasn't known for it. His name on this one song stands out. It feels out of place. The story goes that he might have suggested a line or two, or maybe it was just a gift. A way for Elvis to give a friend a piece of the royalties. That happens sometimes. It was a strange business, so you have three names, the star, the songwriter friend, and the other friend. But the real story, the one that people who were there tell, is different. It starts not in a recording studio, but at home. It starts with Elvis himself. He was sitting around one day thinking, this was after the army, after his mother had passed away. That loss changed him forever. Gladys Presley was the center of his world. Her death in 1958, while he was stationed in Germany, was a blow he never truly recovered from. It left a hole in him, and a lot of his music, especially the ballads, seemed to be reaching for that missing piece. He had a title in his head, just a phrase, and he had a feeling that went with it, a deep personal feeling. He turned to his friend, Red West. He said something like, I have an idea for a song. He gave Red the title. He might have hummed a little bit of a melody. He told him the feeling he wanted. It had to be about someone you can't get out of your mind. Someone whose memory is as real as the person standing next to you. Red West told this story many times. He said Elvis gave him the seed, the core idea. The title. Elvis basically commissioned the song from his friend, but he provided the blueprint. Red then took that idea and did what he did best. He sat down and fleshed it out. He put chords to the feeling. He wrote the verses that tell the story. He built the house, but Elvis had already laid the foundation and chosen the location. This version of the story makes a lot more sense. It explains Elvis's credit. It wasn't just his name slapped on for marketing. He was the originator. He was the creative spark. It also explains Red's credit because he did the heavy lifting of the actual songwriting. But it still leaves the Alan Fortas question, and more importantly, it raises a bigger question. If the idea was so personal, so deeply felt by Elvis, why didn't he just write the whole thing himself? Why hand it off? To understand that, you have to understand the world Elvis lived in. It wasn't a world that encouraged him to be a songwriter. He was a performer, an interpreter, a force of nature on a stage or in front of a camera. That was his job. That was the product. His manager, Colonel Tom Parker, was a brilliant promoter. But he was also a controller. He built a fortress around Elvis, and part of that fortress was the business of music publishing. The Colonel had a deal with a publishing company called Hill and Range. The deal was simple. For any song Elvis recorded, the publisher had to give up a huge chunk of the ownership, usually 50%. This share would go to Elvis and the Colonel. This was a genius business move for them. It meant they made money not just from selling records, but from, the song itself, every time it was played on the radio or used in a movie. But it had a side effect. It drove away a lot of the best songwriters. People like Jerry Lieber and Mike Stoller, who wrote Hound Dog and Jailhouse Rock, refused to give up half their work. They stopped writing for Elvis. So the music Elvis recorded in the 60s often came from a stable of writers who were willing to play by the Colonel's rules. They were professionals who wrote songs to fit the Elvis mold, and in that environment, Elvis the songwriter didn't really exist. He was Elvis the singer. The machine was built around finding songs for him, not for him to create them. It's possible the Colonel actively discouraged him from writing. Why complicate things? It was cleaner to have outside writers submit songs. It kept the business simple. The focus was on movies, soundtracks, and selling the image. And Elvis, who spent months honing his craft as a writer, didn't fit into that high-volume model. There's another possibility, a more personal one. Elvis might have been insecure about his songwriting. He was a musical genius, no doubt. He could hear a song once and know exactly how to arrange it. He could blend blues, gospel, country, and pop in his head without thinking about it. He knew music on an instinctive level, but writing lyrics, crafting a structure, putting it all down on paper, that's a different skill. He was surrounded by professional songwriters. He might have felt he couldn't compete. It's one thing to have an idea, a powerful feeling. It's another to turn it into a perfectly structured 3-minute pop song. So he did what felt natural. He turned to his friend, someone he trusted. He gave the idea to Red. It was a safe way to bring his personal feeling into the world. He could guide it, shape it, and ultimately perform it with all the emotion he felt. But he didn't have to carry the burden of being the writer. He could rely on his friend's craft to get it across the finish line. This also speaks to his generosity. Elvis was known for giving away cars, jewelry, and money to his friends. Giving away a piece of a song was another way to do that. By making Red a co-writer, he ensured his friend would have an income from those royalties for the rest of his life. It was an act of loyalty. In this light, the credit for Alan Fortas, even if he did nothing, also makes sense. It was just another gift, another way of spreading the wealth around to the people in his inner circle. So, he wasn't forbidden from taking credit in the sense that someone stood over him and said, "You can't." It was more complex than that. The system he was in wasn't built for it. His own self-perception might have held him back, and his loyalty to his friends might have pushed him to share. The result is the same. His contribution was bigger than the official credit suggests. Now, let's talk about the song itself. The lyrics are incredibly simple. There's no complex poetry, it's direct. It talks about a person's hair, their eyes, their smile. It describes the little things you remember about someone you've lost. The things that stick with you forever. When you know the story of Elvis and his mother Gladys, the lyrics become almost painfully clear. He was incredibly close to her. He was her only surviving child. He bought her Graceland. His success was, in many ways, for her. When she died, he was devastated. People said he cried for days. He never wanted to talk about it. Listen to the song with her in mind. The words speak of a love that is pure and permanent. It's not about a romantic breakup. It feels deeper than that. It's about a fundamental part of your life being gone, but their presence remaining. The performance is key. Elvis sings it with a quiet control. There's a tenderness in his voice, but also a profound sadness just beneath the surface. It's not dramatic, it's resigned. It's the sound of someone who has learned to live with a memory that is both a comfort and a constant ache. He recorded it in March 1961. It had been less than 3 years since his mother's death. The wound was still fresh. It wasn't just another song for a movie soundtrack, though it did end up on an album full of them. This is from his real life, A Crack, in the Hollywood Facade. The melody is gentle, almost like a lullaby. It sways back and forth. It's the kind of melody you might hum to yourself when you're alone and thinking. It feels personal, intimate. It doesn't sound like something a committee of professional songwriters in a cubicle would have come up with. It sounds like it came from a real emotion, a real person, a real memory. When you put all the pieces together, a clearer picture emerges. Elvis, grieving for his mother, is struck with an idea, a title, a feeling. He doesn't have the tools or the confidence to write it himself, or maybe the business machine he's in doesn't allow for it. So he gives this deeply personal seed of an idea to his trusted friend Red West. The Red, understanding the weight of the emotion behind it, carefully crafts it into a song. He builds the words and music around the feeling Elvis gave him. The song is recorded. Elvis delivers a performance that is so sincere, so full of his own history that it becomes his own. The other name, Alan Fortas, is added as a gesture of friendship, a common practice in their world. The official story is born, but the real story is so much more human. It's a story about grief, friendship, and the strange machinery of fame. It shows an Elvis we don't often see, not the king of rock and roll, the superstar in the jumpsuit, but a son who missed his mother, a man who had a creative idea and found a way to bring it into the world through the people he trusted. Did he secretly write it? No, not in the sense of sitting alone in a room and writing every word and every note. Red West's contribution was real and essential, but was he the secret author? The source? The reason the song exists at all? Absolutely. The song was born in his heart. It carries his personal story. He didn't just sing the words, he felt them. He was singing about his own life. The shared credit isn't a lie. But it doesn't tell the whole truth. The whole truth is messier. It's a story of collaboration that was part creative, part practical, and part emotional. It's a testament to his bond with his friends and the shadow his mother's memory cast over the rest of his life. He didn't need the money. He didn't necessarily need another hit song. What he might have needed was to express something that he couldn't say in an interview. Something too painful to talk about directly, and he used music to do it. He used his voice and he used his friend's talent to give that feeling a form. So, when you listen to that song, you're not just hearing a beautiful melody. You're hearing a piece of Elvis Presley's soul. You're hearing the quiet moment of inspiration that started it all. You're hearing the echo of his love for his mother. It's a song about a memory that never fades, a person who is gone but will never be gone. And the name of that song, the one that carries the ghost of Gladys Presley and the truth of Elvis's hidden creativity, is That's Someone You Never Forget.